This is Radio Ukraine International with the weekly program Doing Business, hosted by Rodion Zhiznyevsky and produced by Konstantin Lavrentyuk. Doing Business covers current economic developments in and concerning Ukraine and gives topical information as well as immediate and longer-term economic forecasts. It is what we think might give you food for thought and help you see Ukraine through the economic angle. Ukraine is not just Kyiv. There are so many other cities and regions that could be attractive to foreign investors. One of them is Mykolaiv. The city was founded in 1789 as the major shipbuilding and maritime center. Its rich industrial heritage, skilled workforce, technological capacity, and access to the Black Sea all make it one of the frontier investment destinations in Ukraine and in Europe. The volume of export shipments handled by Mykolaiv ports has been steadily rising in recent years, reaching 40 million tons per year. This is 70% of Ukrainian grain exports. Mykolaiv was a closed city in the Soviet Union because of its shipyards, navy port, and other defense-related enterprises. Even in independent Ukraine, foreigners were not allowed to enter the city until 1996. 1 in 10 residents worked in shipbuilding in the Soviet times. Due to its location at the Ingul and South Bug rivers and access to the Black Sea, Mykolaiv is uniquely positioned for business in southern Ukraine. Mykolaiv has a population of 489,000. Its area covers 260 square kilometers, located just 50 kilometers from the Black Sea. You're listening to Radio Ukraine's weekly program Doing Business. The city boundaries stretch along the navigable South Bug for 137 kilometers. Mykolaiv is linked to other major Ukrainian metro areas by 3 European transport corridors and is serviced by Kherson International Airport. It is a major railway center connected to other Ukrainian regions and Europe. Mykolaiv has a rich industrial heritage that centered around shipbuilding for over a century. This heritage determines the city's current intellectual, technological, and human potentials. Mykolaiv can boast a large, though yet relatively untapped, skilled labor pool and well-equipped industrial zones and facilities with multiple sites available for investment purposes. Mykolaiv has successfully attracted large-scale investments, largely thanks to the necessary investment support know-how. Mykolaiv has Ukraine's longest waterfront, 137 kilometers, and the longest pedestrian street, Soborna, which is the main street. Mykolaiv also has the biggest and most famous zoo in Ukraine. You're listening to Radio Ukraine's weekly program Doing Business. Mykolaiv Mayor Olexander Syenkevych is the youngest mayor of Ukraine's regional center. His main task as the mayor of a 500,000 city is the transformation of Mykolaiv into the best city to live in. In his opinion, the city needs to declare its competitive ambitions as a relevant player on the world investment market. To this end, he introduces new effective standards of city economy management, including open and rational use of the municipal budget, setting up a system of affordable quality services for the residents and investment attraction. Olexander Syenkevych knows how Mykolaiv should look like in the future, and he has a clear vision of how to achieve this goal. Mykolaiv has a chance to become the newest center of engineering and production with the best transport and logistics hub in Ukraine, the mayor says. And here is our exclusive interview with the mayor of Mykolaiv, Olexander Syenkevych, who kindly answered my questions about investment attractiveness and shared his thoughts about the future of the city. Why could Mykolaiv be attractive to foreign investors?
First of all, Mykolaiv is a city with big potential because not too many corporations presented here in Mykolaiv, but our city was, I think, a year ago third by numbers of investment in Ukraine in the year. Because the absence of competitionability is not too big, and main thing that we have now is a land and people who can work on those newly opened enterprises. And United States company Bunge opened in Mykolaiv. A lot of people all over the world think that Mykolaiv is in Ukraine. Then Ukraine now is a country that has some, let's say, conflicts on its territory. So they don't review Ukraine as a potential place for investment at all. Or sometimes they don't review southeastern Ukraine as a potential place to invest. So on this opening of new Bunge terminal, I said that their slogan is safety first. And work of this company in Mykolaiv, there is a message to the world that it's safe to do business in Mykolaiv.
You're listening to Radio Ukraine's weekly program, Doing Business. What projects with foreign investment are being implemented or planned now?
Today, port by itself is the main, let's say, profession of our city. So ports are the places where we get more investments, but to be honest, they ruin our city too. And we don't have additional money for innovation of our city from port infrastructure because taxes that paid by ports are now distributed not too honestly. I am sure that our profession should bring us money to the city, and we need to divide taxes that go to the state budget on two and divide it between city and state. As for taxes by themselves, I don't think we need to increase them because they are too big for now, and we just need to divide them between different branches of government, local and state government. We have really good cooperations with United States company Bunge. We have good cooperation with Chinese company Kovco Agri. If we talk about other spheres of business, we can say that we have really good relationships with PepsiCo, Ukraine company, previously Sandora, because we work on our social projects together. They help us in some human development projects led by Agency of Development of Mykolaiv. And let's say they are reliable partners. Moreover, some of their facilities are not in the city, but the office in the city, and they help us to develop city together.
What measures have been taken to improve the business climate of the city? What needs to be done for foreign investors to come here and start their business?
There was accepted a law about investments nannies in Ukraine. But I usually say the best nanny for any investor in Mykolaiv, it's mayor. They can come to me and I will find time for foreign investors and for local investors. If this business gives us not only money for investors but to the city, and the positive impact to the city is much bigger than negative. So as for me, I usually open to any investors. They can find me and my contacts in the city council, and I always ready to meet and to discuss what city can do for investor to enter the city and to open here a new business. So this way I met different companies or heads of different companies and help them to make them, let's say, happy and to start and run their business. Also, I meet them not only while process of opening, but while everyday life. They have my phone numbers. I usually accept all phone calls or recall them, and they share with me their problems which I can resolve or help them to resolve.
You're listening to Radio Ukraine's weekly program, Doing Business. How much damage has the coronavirus caused the city?
The negative impact of coronavirus divided our budget of development which is not the city budget, but it's part of it. The budget of city development divided on two. So previously our budget was like 1 billion hryvnias. This year it's planned on the level of 600 million hryvnias. So that means that impact is very big, but we see a positive tendency after finish of this lockdowns, etc. So I hope in the end of this year we will have over income, profit bigger than we planned in the beginning of the year.
Is there any statistics on how many businesses have closed down, unable to withstand the restrictions?
Unfortunately, I haven't prepared this information for our meeting, but I could say that while this problem with transportation, public transportation for people in our businesses, we created electronic ID, which was available for companies who need to transfer their workers, and we made these electronic IDs and gave them ability to print them by themselves with unique QR codes, and that QR codes could be checked by any police officer or city bus driver, and we help them to resolve this problem with transportation. As for additional expenses from local budget, we accepted the program, and for those who was unable to work and had to pay city land tax, we create a program of compensation for this paid tax. So they paid it, and then we saw and noticed that they had no ability to work. We indicated it in our documents, and then they provided us with documents for compensation, and we compensated them this amount of money. I could say this is a tool to avoid additional payments for those who haven't earned money while this process of corona crisis.
Is there any difference between the expectations that you had as a candidate and the reality you face now?
For sure, I planned to work much easier than I do now, because problems of the city are more deep than on the first sight. And then the more deep I go into the city problems, the more I understand that it's not possible to resolve all the problems. I usually choose directions that I think our team can resolve and beat in that point. We have some really big problems with infrastructure, water supplies, huge water infrastructure, public transportation problems, and critical infrastructure problems, which we're trying to resolve now. But amount of money that we get now is not enough to resolve this in the next 5 years, even in next 50 years. So it's like an endless process. So for now, I see that we earn money by port, but we don't get that money. We need to change this situation. For now, this kind of problem can't be resolved on our local level. This problem can be resolved only on the level of Verkhovna Rada and President of Ukraine. So we are trying to provide with this information of all of these types of power, so they help us to earn money with what we do now, and it will help us to resolve our city problems.
How would you assess the past period of your work? Can you name some of the steps and decisions that you consider successful? Is there anything that has yet to be done?
First of all, we launched the project which provided city with new huge cleaning water facilities for bad water. And we renovate this system now. These facilities were built in 1973, and now we in the end of this process of reconstruction. For sure, we need to renovate all the pipes inside the city, but the main cleaning facility is for sure almost new. And now we're also in process of renovation of cleaning of good water, in drinking water. These two projects are really big and really vital, and because you can live without roads, you can't live without the water. Another projects are projects with public trolley buses. We review trolley bus as one of clean energy types of public transportation. Moreover, it's better than buses with batteries, because to utilize the humankind still don't have any good idea how to recycle these new batteries. So still we plan to grow these trolleybuses lanes. Recently we opened one lane, circle lane, and now in the process of building of the lane to a distant district of the city. Also we plan to buy additional trolleybuses, 20 trolleybuses with ability to go without wires for 20 kilometers. And one of the biggest projects that we finished is the project to bring water on the right side of our city, on the right side of the river. Our city is 230 years and we only last year launched the water there. Moreover, we drink water from Dnipro River, which is 70 kilometers from Mykolaiv, and we bring water from Dnipro to Mykolaiv, and then now we bring it to the right bank of the Yuzhny Bug River. For sure, we have a lot of work just to bring pipes to each household, but we started this work and drinking water is on the other side of the river.
As far as I know, there is the project Перемоги Park. Could you tell us more about this project?
This project right now in the process of visualization. It's a really expensive project. We're trying to get additional finances from a state budget. For sure, we need to renovate public spaces. But as I told you before, we have more infrastructure problems that we need to resolve first of all. And for sure, the amount of money that we spent on renovation of public spaces like park and entertainment zones, it's very small comparing to those projects that we do in infrastructure. But to be honest, they are not too visible and not too visual, let's say. People are waiting for new changes in visual state of the city. But I plan to spend more money in case we have money from our ports. So we'll put this amount of money on infrastructure renovation and spend more salary taxes and land taxes on city public spaces renovation.
You're listening to Radio Ukraine's weekly program, Doing Business. What is your dream as the head of the city? How do you see the future of Mykolaiv?
I don't think the port is the main aim of our city. I prefer to see Mykolaiv as a city of students. So I think student is the best tourist because he stays for 5 years in the same city at least. And I could say that we need to create products not with additional cost, but more of additional value, like programs, different types of electronics and researches. And I think good atmosphere for universities and students will grow this potential. So I don't think Mykolaiv will be one of the topmost touristic cities, but anyway, we also have places in our river to develop this direction of economy. But I think main aim is to bring here students with our specialization of shipbuilding, medicine, engineering.
To implement the plans you are talking about, resources are needed. The basis for the development of any city is the economy. What is your attitude towards decentralization and strong local government?
For sure, decentralization is still in progress, this reform of decentralization. And I won't compare it to the past because I became a mayor in the process of decentralization in this reform. And what I can say that we need to, on a state level, to prioritize the spheres of business in regions and to give ability to those, let's say, territories to earn money by their specialization. So if you dig coal, or let's say if you dig gas, you have to get money from that. People work there, and people get resources from the territory, you have to get some part of the money. If you do some, let's say, port work, you have to get money, not only ruined roads and bad air, but also money to renovate roads and make more parks, squares, and places where people will be able to rest and to get, let's say, medicine, clinics. That's all.
You always say everything that has been done is also your team's achievement. How did you form it? What are the strengths and weaknesses of your team?
To be honest, I don't believe in dream teams. So when I take someone to the team, I usually say, like one guy in the movie Star Troopers said, I take you until I find someone better than you or you will be killed. Yes. For sure, I'm looking for good people who are ready to start work in such complex city as Mykolaiv. And if someone is not really good, we're trying to change this person, the new one, better than we have. Let's say, I will say that, but the first deputy mayor is the guy who worked as a mayor in Voznesensk city, that is near Mykolaiv. Last elections gave opportunity to new faces to enter the city councils, and but for anyway, experienced people are really valuable in other spheres of the life, not only as mayors. So we work with him, and I'm happy and proud that I got a person like this. I could say we can spend a lot of time discussing my deputy mayors and people who work in our team, but anyway, we are open for people who have desire to grow the city and to grow by themselves. As a fact, we don't close the door if you don't have really much experience. But if you have a desire, ability to grow, we take you as a part of our team. We are always open, we are always in a search. Human resources are the most expensive and most important resources, so we are in process of this search.
And here at the end of our exclusive interview with the mayor of Mykolaiv, Olexander Syenkevych. You're listening to Radio Ukraine's weekly program, Doing Business. The whole beauty of the city is perfectly described in the official anthem, which was selected in 2004. Mykolaiv is well placed for companies exploring new opportunities. A number of international companies have already opted for Mykolaiv and benefited from choosing to invest in the city. That was Radio Ukraine's weekly program Doing Business, hosted by Rodion Zhiznievsky and produced by Konstantin Lavrentyuk. Tune in every Wednesday for more.